The stars looked peaceful that morning. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his ship drinking coffee and watching Earth spin slowly below. He had no idea that death was coming fast through space. Far away, Admiral Crix smiled as he looked at his fleet. 3,000 ships filled the dark space around him. Each ship carried enough weapons to destroy a city. His soldiers were ready. His guns were loaded. Today, the humans would die. "How long until we reach their world?" Crix asked. His officer. 2 hours, sir. Our scouts say they only have 200 ships. Old ones. Weak ones. Crix laughed. 200 ships against 3,000. This will be easy. The Zephyrian Empire had ruled the galaxy for 1,000 years. They had destroyed many worlds. They had killed many species. Humans would just be another name on the list. Back on Earth, alarms started ringing. Captain Morrison dropped his coffee cup. It broke on the floor, but he did not care. The big screen in front of him showed red dots. Lots of red dots. "Sir, we have incoming ships," said Lieutenant Kate Phillips. "Very big fleet. They will be here soon." Morrison felt cold. He had trained for this day, but he hoped it would never come. "How many ships?" "More than 3,000, sir." The bridge went quiet. Everyone knew what this meant. Earth was going to be attacked by the biggest fleet anyone had ever seen. "Send a message to President Carter right away," Morrison said. "Tell her it is starting." President Lisa Carter was in her office when the call came. She was a strong woman who had led Earth for 5 years. She had seen wars before, but nothing like this. "How much time do we have?" she asked. 2 hours, maybe less," the general told her. Carter closed her eyes for a moment. Then she opened them and looked strong again. "Tell all ships to get ready. Call back every pilot. Wake up everyone who is sleeping. And General?" "Yes, ma'am." "Start Protocol 7. The general looked surprised. Protocol 7 was very secret. Only 5 people on Earth knew about it. "Are you sure, ma'am?" "I am sure. It is time." Across Earth, people ran to their ships. Old pilots who had not flown in years got back in their cockpits. Young pilots who had just learned to fly got their first real mission. Everyone knew this was the most important day in human history. Dr. Alex Turner got the call while he was eating breakfast. He was the head of Earth's Strategic Defense Initiative. He had spent 20 years building secret weapons that he hoped would never be used. "Sir, Protocol 7 is active," his assistant told him. Turner put down his fork. His hands were shaking, but not from fear. He was excited. Everything he had built was about to be tested. "Good," he said. "Start with the asteroids. Let them think that is all we have." In space, the human fleet looked very small. Captain Morrison commanded the biggest ship, but it was old. Most of the human ships were old mining vessels with guns stuck on them. They looked weak and slow. Admiral Crick saw the human ships on his screen and laughed again. "Look at them. They are like children with toy boats." But Morrison was not scared. He spoke to all the human ships. "Remember the plan. We are not trying to win this fight. We are trying to lead them where we want them to go." Captain Phillips nodded. She commanded a ship called the Defiance. It was small and looked harmless. But Phillips knew things that Crix did not know. She knew about the secrets hidden in the asteroid belt. She knew about the weapons on the moon. She knew that Earth was not as weak as it looked. The Zephyrian fleet moved closer. Their ships were huge and covered with armor. Their weapons could destroy planets. They had never lost a battle. "Humans," Crix said into his radio. "This is Admiral Crix of the Zephyrian Empire. You will surrender now or we will destroy your world." Morrison picked up his radio. "This is Captain Morrison of the Earth Defense Force. We will never surrender." "Then you will die," Crix said. The first shots were fired. Bright lights filled space as energy beams flew between the fleets. The human ships fired back, but their weapons seemed weak. Some human ships exploded. Others caught fire and tried to run away. Crix watched the battle and felt good. Everything was going as he had planned. The humans were fighting hard, but they were losing. Their ships were too old and too slow. "Push forward," he told his fleet. "Drive them back to their planet." But Morrison was not really trying to win. Every move he made was planned. Every retreat was part of the trap. He was leading the Zephyrian fleet exactly where Dr. Turner wanted them to go. As the human ships fell back toward Earth, they passed through the asteroid belt. Crix did not worry about the rocks floating in space. They were just rocks. What could rocks do against his mighty fleet? Dr. Turner watched from his secret control room, deep under Earth. The Zephyrian fleet was now right where he wanted them. He smiled and pressed a button. Suddenly, the asteroid belt came alive. Rocks that had looked normal for millions of years opened up like flowers. Inside each rock was a weapons platform. Guns bigger than anything on the human ships pointed at the Zephyrian fleet. "Fire," Turner said quietly. The space around Earth lit up like a star. Energy beams shot out from hundreds of hidden weapons. Zephyrian ships exploded one after another. In 60 seconds, Crix lost more ships than he had lost in his whole career. "What is happening?" Crix shouted. His officers looked scared. "Sir, the asteroids are shooting at us. They have weapons hidden inside them." Crix felt cold for the first time in years. The humans had tricked him. But this had to be all they had. This had to be their last surprise. He was very wrong. Admiral Crix was angry. Half of his ships were gone. The asteroid belt had been a trap and he had walked right into it. But he was not going to give up. He still had more ships than the humans. He would still win this war. Move forward. He told his remaining fleet. "We will reach their planet and destroy it." The Zephyrian ships pushed deeper into the solar system. They passed the broken pieces of their destroyed vessels. They passed the smoking asteroids that had hidden the human weapons. Soon they could see Earth's moon hanging in space like a gray. Ball Commander Ryan Baker sat in a room deep inside the moon. He had been waiting for this moment for 10 years. Around him, lights blinked on control panels. Screens showed the enemy fleet getting closer and closer. "Sir, they are in range," his assistant said. Baker nodded. "Good. Let them get a little closer. We want to make sure we get them all." The moon looked dead and empty. It had always looked that way. For millions of years, it had been just a big rock in space. But the humans had been busy. They had been digging tunnels and building weapons. They had turned the moon into the biggest gun in the solar system. Crix looked at the moon through his ship's windows. It looked harmless, just another dead rock. He did not know that thousands of people lived inside it. He did not know about the factories and the weapon systems. He did not know that death was waiting for him. "Sir," Baker's assistant said, "all weapons are ready." Baker pressed a button. "This is Luna Base to all stations. Fire when ready." The moon split open. Huge doors that had been hidden for decades opened up all over the moon's surface. From each daughter came a weapon bigger than any ship. Particle beam arrays pointed at the Zephyrian fleet. Gravitational disruptors powered up with a deep humming sound. Crix watched in horror as the moon came alive. "That is impossible," he whispered. The moon fired. Beams of pure energy shot across space. They hit the Zephyrian ships and cut through them like hot knives through butter. Some ships exploded instantly. Others were crushed by gravity weapons that made them fold in on themselves. In 2 minutes, Crix lost another 1,000 ships. "Retreat," he shouted. "Pull back! Pull back!" But it was too late. The human trap was closing. More asteroid weapons came online. Earth's own defense platforms started firing. The Zephyrian fleet was caught in a killing zone with no way out. Then something even worse happened. On Mars, Dr. Emma Stone stood in a huge underground factory. She had spent 15 years building this place in secret. The red planet looked empty from space, but under the surface was the biggest shipyard anyone had ever built. "Sir," her assistant said, "the Luna base has fired. Should we reveal ourselves?" Dr. Stone smiled. "Yes, it is time to show them what we have really been building." The surface of Mars began to move. Giant doors opened in the planet's crust. From each door came a spaceship, not old mining ships like the ones that had fought in the first battle. These were new ships, fast ships, deadly ships. Admiral Ben Davis commanded the secret Mars fleet. He had been waiting in hiding for this day. His ships were built with technology that the Zephyrians had never seen. Each one was faster and stronger than anything in the enemy fleet. "This is Admiral Davis to all Mars ships," he said into his radio. "Today we show the galaxy that Earth is not weak. Today we show them what humans can really do." 2,000 human ships rose from Mars like angry bees from a hive. They moved faster than the Zephyrian ships could follow. Their weapons were more powerful than anything Crix had ever faced. Crix watched the new fleet appear and felt his heart sink. Where had these ships come from? How had the humans built so many without anyone knowing? "Sir," his officer said, "these ships are not in our database. We have never seen technology like this before." "How is that possible?" Crix asked. "We have been watching Earth for 50 years. But he did not know the truth. Humans had been watching the Zephyrians for much longer than that. They had been learning. They had been planning. They had been preparing for this exact moment. Admiral Davis led his fleet into battle. The new human ships moved like dancers through space. They avoided the enemy weapons easily and struck back with deadly accuracy. Every shot they fired destroyed a Zephyrian ship. Colonel Sam Wright watched the battle from his command center on Earth. He was in charge of Earth's Special Operations Command. He had been planning this war for 20 years. Everything was going exactly as he had hoped. "Sir," his assistant said, "Admiral Crix is calling for his reserve forces." Wright smiled. "Perfect. We want him to use everything he has. Then we can destroy it all at once." In deep space, more Zephyrian ships were coming. These were the biggest and most dangerous ships in their fleet. Planet killers, ships so large and powerful they could crack worlds in half. Crix was bringing everything he had to this battle. "If I cannot win easily," Crix said to himself, "then I will destroy their planet and everyone on it." But General Amy Foster was ready for this too. She sat in a room so secret that most people on Earth did not know it existed. Around her were maps of the entire galaxy. On these maps were marked the positions of human agents and allies that had been placed over many years. "General," her aide said, "the planet killers are coming." Foster nodded. "Good. It is time to spring our biggest trap. Send the signal to all our agents. Tell them it is time to reveal themselves." Across the galaxy, on planets that Crix thought he controlled, something amazing began to happen. Slave workers who had served the Zephyrians for years suddenly stood up. They pulled out hidden weapons. They took over factories and spaceports. They sent messages to Earth saying they were ready to fight. The humans had not been alone. For decades, they had been secretly helping other species. They had been building a network of allies and supporters. Every species that the Zephyrians had conquered was ready to rebel. Crix received reports from across his empire. His own planets were turning against him. His supply lines were being cut. His reinforcements were being attacked before they could reach Earth. "How did they do this?" he asked his officers. "How did the humans get agents on all our worlds?" But no one had an answer. The humans had been more clever than anyone had imagined. They had spent 100 years preparing for this war. They had thought of everything. On Mars, Dr. Stone watched more ships leave her factories. She had built enough vessels to fight 10 wars, but she hoped this would be the only war they would ever need to fight. "Ma'am," her assistant said, "all ships have launched. The fleet is at full strength." Dr. Stone looked at her screens. The battle around Earth was going well. The Zephyrians were losing badly. Soon they would realize that attacking Earth had been the biggest mistake in galactic history. Admiral Davis led his ships in another attack. The Mars fleet moved like a pack of wolves, surrounding and destroying the remaining Zephyrian vessels. Each human ship was worth 10 enemy ships. The battle was becoming a slaughter. Crix knew he was beaten, but he would not surrender. He still had his planet killers. He still had weapons that could destroy worlds. If he could not win, he would at least make sure the humans paid a terrible price. "Prepare the planet killers," he ordered. "Target their homeworld. We will crack Earth like an egg." But Colonel Wright was watching. He had expected this move. The humans had one more surprise waiting. The biggest surprise of all. Admiral Crix felt his world falling apart. His great fleet was broken. His empire was rebelling. But he still had hope. His planet killers were the most powerful weapons in the galaxy. Even if he lost everything else, he could still destroy Earth and make the humans pay. "Sir," his officer said, "we are getting strange reports from home." "What kind of reports?" Crix asked. "Our worlds are not just rebelling, sir. They are being led by humans. Humans we have never seen before. They know our military secrets. They know where our weapons are stored. It is like they have been living among us for years." Crix felt cold again. This was impossible. Humans had never left their solar system. How could they be on Zephyrian worlds? On the planet Zephyr Prime, Agent Nick Carter smiled as he watched alien soldiers surrender to his rebel army. Nick had lived on this world for 20 years. He had married a local woman. He had children who looked half human and half alien. The Zephyrians had never suspected he was a spy. "This is Carter to Earth Command," he said into his hidden radio. "Zephyr Prime is ours. All weapon factories are under our control." His partner, Agent Claire Morgan, was on another world doing the same thing. She had spent 15 years working in a Zephyrian government office. She knew all their military plans. She knew which worlds were important and which ones were not. "Morgan to Earth Command," she said. "Sector 7 is secure. The enemy cannot send reinforcements to Earth." All across the Zephyrian Empire, humans were revealing themselves. They had been hiding in plain sight for decades. Some were soldiers. Some were scientists. Some were just ordinary people who had learned to look like aliens and act like aliens. Dr. Paul Anderson stood in his secret base on the edge of Zephyrian space. He was not really a doctor. He was a military planner who had been mapping the galaxy for 50 years. Around him, star charts showed the truth that would shock everyone. Earth was not alone. Earth had never been alone. While the Zephyrians thought humans lived on just one world, the truth was very different. Humans had secretly colonized over 500 planets. They had built hidden cities and secret bases. They had created the largest empire in galactic history, and nobody knew it existed. "Sir," Anderson's assistant said, "all colonies are reporting in. We have ships ready at every location." Anderson nodded. "Good. Begin Phase 3. Let them see what we have really built." Captain Luke Thompson commanded one of the hidden human colonies. His world was in the middle of Zephyrian space, but it was invisible to their sensors. Human technology could bend light and hide entire planets. "This is Thompson to all hidden fleets," he said. "Come out of hiding. It is time to show ourselves." Across the galaxy, space began to shimmer and change. Planets that had seemed empty suddenly revealed huge cities. Asteroid fields that had looked natural opened up to show massive shipyards. Empty space filled with human vessels that had been hiding in other dimensions. The Zephyrians had been surrounded for decades without knowing it. Admiral Crix watched his screens in horror. Human ships were appearing everywhere. They were not coming from Earth. They were already here, all around him, in places where no humans should exist. "How many ships do they have?" he whispered. "We cannot count them all, sir," his officer said with a shaking voice. "They seem to be everywhere." On Earth, President, Lisa Carter sat in her command center watching the galaxy change. For 100 years, humans had been preparing for this day. They had learned to hide. They had learned to plan. They had learned to wait. "Open a channel to all Zephyrian ships," she said. Her face appeared on screens throughout the enemy fleet. She looked calm and strong. Behind her, the flags of 500 human worlds hung on the wall. "People of the Zephyrian Empire," she said, "you have made a terrible mistake. You thought Earth was alone. You thought humans were weak. You were wrong." Crick stared at the screen. Behind the human president, he could see flags he did not recognize. Symbols of worlds he had never heard of. How was this possible? "For over a century," Carter continued, "humanity has been watching you. We have been learning about you. We have been preparing for this day. You attack weak species because you think they cannot fight back. Today you learn that sometimes the weak are not weak at all." The president's image disappeared. In its place came a map of the galaxy. Red dots showed Zephyrian worlds. Blue dots showed human colonies. There were far more blue dots than red ones. Crick saw the map and knew he was finished. The humans had not just been hiding on Earth. They had been building an empire larger than his own. They had been planning this war for longer than he had been alive. "Sir," his officer said, "we are getting surrender requests from all our worlds. The humans have taken everything. They knew exactly where to strike and when to strike." Commander Tony Garcia led the human fleet that appeared near Zephyr Prime. His ships moved through space like ghosts, appearing and disappearing at will. The Zephyrians had never seen technology like this before. "This is Garcia to the Zephyrian garrison," he said. "You are surrounded. Surrender now and you will not be harmed." The Zephyrian commander looked at his screens. Human ships had appeared all around his planet. They had come from nowhere, like magic. His weapons could not lock onto them. His sensors could not track them. "How are you doing this?" the Zephyrian asked. "We learned to bend space and time," Garcia replied. "We learned to hide in places you cannot see. We learned to be patient and smart instead of loud and aggressive." Dr. Helen Brooks sat in her laboratory on a hidden human world. She was the scientist who had discovered how to move through dimensions. Her work had made the human empire possible. "Ma'am," her assistant said, "all fleets are in position. We can attack every Zephyrian world at the same time." Dr. Brooks smiled. "Not yet. First, let them understand what they are facing. Fear is a better weapon than force." Captain Steve Rogers commanded a human task force that moved through dimensional space. His ships could attack and then disappear before the enemy could fight back. It was like fighting ghosts. "Rogers to all ships," he said. "Begin the demonstration. Show them what we can do." Human fleets began appearing at every major Zephyrian military base. They would attack, destroy their targets, and then vanish again. The Zephyrians could not fight back against enemies they could not see or touch. In his flagship, Admiral Crix realized the horrible truth. The humans had not just been preparing for this war. They had been studying every aggressive species in the galaxy. They knew exactly how each enemy would attack. They had planned countermeasures for every possible threat. "Sir," his officer said, "they are not just attacking our military bases. They are taking our civilian worlds too. But they are not hurting anyone. They are just taking control." This confused Crix. If the humans were so powerful, why were they not killing everyone? Why were they showing mercy to people who had come to destroy their world? The answer came from President Carter. Her image appeared on his screen again. "Admiral Crix," she said, "we are not like you. We do not kill for pleasure. We do not destroy because we can. We fight only to protect ourselves and others. Your people will not be harmed if they do not resist." Crix felt something he had never felt before. Shame. His empire had conquered and destroyed for 1,000 years. But these humans, who could have destroyed his entire species in a day, were choosing to show mercy. "What do you want?" he asked. "We want you to stop," Carter replied. "We want you to learn that there are consequences for attacking peaceful worlds. Today you have learned that the galaxy is not yours to rule." Around Earth, the last of the Zephyrian ships were surrendering. The great fleet that had come to destroy humanity was broken and beaten, but the humans had not destroyed it. They had simply taken away its power to hurt others. Admiral Crix looked at his remaining ships and knew the war was over. But he still had one weapon left. One final way to hurt his enemies. His planet killers could still destroy worlds even if they could not win the war. But the humans were ready for this too. They had been ready for everything. Admiral Crix was beaten, but he was not finished. His empire was gone. His fleet was destroyed. His worlds had surrendered to the humans. But he still had one card left to play. The most terrible card of all. "Prepare the reality weapons," he told his remaining officers. The officers looked scared. The reality weapons were technology that the Zephyrians had stolen from an ancient dead race. They were so dangerous that even Crix had been afraid to use them. These weapons did not just destroy things. They made things stop existing. They could Erase entire star systems from reality itself. Sir, one officer said, if we use those weapons, we might destroy ourselves too. I do not care, Crick said. If I cannot rule the galaxy, then I will make sure the humans cannot either. Target their homeworld. Erase Earth from existence. Deep in space, the last 3 Zephyrian superships powered up weapons that should never have been built. These were not normal weapons. They were reality-warping devices that could reach into the basic structure of the universe and change it. On Earth, alarms began ringing in every military base. Commander Tony Garcia sat in a room that most people did not know existed. He was the head of Earth's Temporal Defense Division. For 30 years, he had been preparing for exactly this moment. Sir, his assistant said, they are charging reality weapons. They plan to erase our entire solar system. Garcia smiled. Good. Now we can show them our greatest secret. The humans had discovered something that no other species had ever learned. They had found out how to exist in multiple dimensions at the same time. Earth was not just one planet in one place. It was many Earths in many different dimensions, all connected together. Begin Phase 4, Garcia said. Take us out of normal space. Around Earth, space began to shimmer and bend. The planet started to fade away like a ghost. It was still there, but it was also not there. It existed in a place that normal weapons could not reach. Admiral Crix fired his reality weapons. Beams of pure destruction shot across space toward where Earth had been. The weapons hit their target and began tearing apart the basic structure of reality itself. Space twisted and folded. Time bent backward and forward, but Earth was not there anymore. The reality weapons struck empty space. They destroyed nothing but vacuum and starlight. Earth had moved to a place where normal physics did not work, a place where reality weapons could not follow. Impossible, Crix whispered. No one can escape a reality weapon. Dr. Helen Brooks watched from her hidden laboratory as Earth phased back into normal space. She was the scientist who had made this possible. She had learned to make entire worlds exist in parallel dimensions. Ma'am, her assistant said, Earth is safe. The reality weapons missed us completely. Dr. Brooks nodded. Now show them what we can really do. If they want to play with reality, we will teach them how the game is really played. Human ships began appearing throughout Zephyrian space, but these were not normal ships. They moved through dimensions that the Zephyrians could not see. They attacked from directions that did not exist. They came from everywhere and nowhere at the same time. Captain Steve Rogers led a task force through dimensional space. His ships could attack the Zephyrian homeworld and then retreat to a dimension where the enemy could not follow them. This is Rogers to all dimensional fleets, he said. Begin the final attack. Show them that reality itself obeys us now. The Zephyrian homeworld was the most heavily defended planet in the galaxy. It had shields that could stop any weapon. It had fortresses that had never been conquered. It had armies that had never been defeated. None of that mattered. Human ships appeared inside the shields. They came from dimensions that the shields could not block. They attacked the fortresses from directions that did not exist in normal space. They fought battles in places where up and down had no meaning. Emperor Vex, the ruler of the Zephyrian Empire, watched his capital city being taken by enemy soldiers who seemed to walk through walls. His greatest scientists could not explain what they were seeing. How are they doing this? He asked. His chief scientist was shaking with fear. My lord, they seem to control the basic laws of reality. They can be in 2 places at once. They can attack from the past and the future at the same time. This is not possible. But it was happening. The humans had learned to fight wars in 4 dimensions instead of 3. They could attack from times and places that had not been invented yet. Admiral Grace Martin commanded the human force that took the Zephyrian capital. She walked through the Emperor's palace like she owned it. Her soldiers moved through walls and appeared in locked rooms. The Emperor's guards could not fight enemies they could not touch. Your Majesty, she said to Emperor Vex, your empire is finished. Surrender now and your people will not be harmed. Emperor Vex looked at this human woman who had conquered his unconquerable world. What are you? How did you become so powerful? We learned, Martin replied. We watched. We prepared. You spent 1,000 years conquering. We spent 100 years learning how to stop you. Back in space, Admiral Crix watched his homeworld fall. His reality weapons had failed. His greatest technology had been useless against an enemy that could step outside of reality itself. "Sir," his officer said, "they are not just in our space. They are in our past. Somehow they have been attacking us yesterday and tomorrow at the same time." Crix did not understand, but he could see the results. Human forces were appearing at every Zephyrian world, not just now, but at different times. They were fighting a war across all of history at once. Dr. Alex Turner sat in his command center watching the final phase of the war. He had spent 50 years planning this moment. Every human colony had been connected through dimensional space. Every human ship could attack from multiple times and places at once. "Sir," his assistant said, "all Zephyrian military forces have surrendered. Their entire fleet has been captured or destroyed. Their worlds are under our control." Turner nodded. "Good. Now we can begin the real work." President Lisa Carter appeared on screens throughout the galaxy. Behind her stood the flags of 1,000 human worlds. Around her stood generals and admirals from every human colony. "People of the galaxy," she said, "today you have seen the truth. Humanity is not a young species that just learned to travel in space. We are an old species that learned to hide while we grew strong." The galaxy listened, in shock. Every major news network was broadcasting her words. Every species was learning that everything they thought they knew about humans was wrong. "For 200 years, Carter continued, "we have been watching you. We have been learning about every species in the galaxy. We know who attacks peaceful worlds. We know who practices slavery. We know who commits genocide." She paused to let her words sink in. "Today, the Zephyrian Empire learned what happens to species that choose to be aggressive. Tomorrow, any other species that makes the same choice will learn the same lesson." In his broken ship, Admiral Crix realized the horrible truth. The humans had not just defeated his empire. They had been studying every aggressive species in the galaxy. They had files on everyone. They knew who the next threat would be before that threat even knew it itself. "We have become the guardians of the galaxy," Carter said. "We will protect the weak from the strong. We will stop wars before they start. We will make sure that no species ever again has to fear being destroyed by a stronger neighbor." Captain Jake Morrison, who had started this war by retreating from the asteroid belt, now stood on the bridge of the most powerful ship in the galaxy. Around him, screens showed human fleets positioned near every major world in known space. "Sir," his officer said, "all stations report ready. We can protect every peaceful species in the galaxy." Morrison nodded. "Good. Let the galaxy know that Earth is watching. Let them know that we will always be watching." The message was clear. Humanity had revealed itself not as conquerors, but as protectors. They had the power to destroy anyone, but they chose to use that power to defend the innocent. Admiral Crix finally understood what had happened. His empire had not just lost a war. They had triggered the birth of a new galactic order. An order where the strongest species used their power to protect the weakest instead of destroying them. But the war was not quite over. Crix still had one final choice to make. Admiral Crix sat in his broken command chair and stared at the ruins of his fleet. Around him, space was filled with the wreckage of Zephyrian ships. His mighty empire, which had ruled the galaxy for 1,000 years, was gone. Destroyed in a single day by an enemy he had thought was weak. His communication system crackled to life. A human voice spoke to him. "Admiral Crix, this is Admiral Grace Martin of the Human Defense Force. You will surrender your remaining ships immediately." Crix looked at his screens. He had started this day with 3,000 ships. Now he had less than 50. His planet killers were destroyed. His reality weapons had failed. His empire was in ruins. "And if I refuse," he asked, "then you will join the rest of your fleet," Martin replied. "Look around you, Admiral. This war is over." Crix did look around. Human ships surrounded him on all sides. They appeared and disappeared like ghosts. Some existed in normal space. Others moved through dimensions he could not see. A few seemed to be attacking from the past and future at the same time. "I surrender," he said quietly. But surrender was not enough for the humans. They had bigger plans. President Lisa Carter stood on the observation deck of the largest space station ever built. It hung in orbit around Earth, but parts of it existed, in other dimensions too. From here she could see the entire galaxy at once. "Ma'am," her aide said, "Admiral Crix has surrendered. All Zephyrian forces have laid down their weapons." Carter nodded. "Good. Now we begin the real work. Send a message to every government in the galaxy. Tell them we need to talk." Across the galaxy, alien leaders received the same message. The humans wanted to meet with everyone, not to conquer them, but to establish new rules. Rules that would prevent wars like this from ever happening again. Dr. Alex Turner walked through the ruins of the Zephyrian command ship. Around him, human soldiers were collecting weapons and technology, but they were not taking everything. They were only taking the weapons that could be used to hurt innocent people. "Sir," his assistant said, "we have found their military databases. They contain information about every aggressive species in the galaxy." Turner smiled. "Perfect. Now, we know who else we need to watch." The humans had learned something important during this war. The Zephyrians were not the only aggressive species in the galaxy. There were others who attacked peaceful worlds, others who practiced slavery, others who committed genocide when they thought no one was watching. But now someone was watching, someone with the power to stop them. Commander Ryan Baker stood in the control room of Luna Base. The moon's weapons were still active, pointed out at space. But now they were not weapons of war. They were weapons of peace. They would protect Earth and every other world that needed protection. "Sir," his officer said, "we are getting reports from all our hidden colonies. Every aggressive species in the galaxy is backing down. They are afraid to start any new wars." Baker nodded. "Good. Fear is a powerful teacher." Captain Jake Morrison commanded the new flagship of the Human Defense Force. It was called the Guardian, and it was the most powerful ship ever built. It could exist in multiple dimensions at once. It could travel to any point in the galaxy in seconds. It could stop wars before they started. "Captain," his communications officer said, "we have a message from the Krellian Empire. They are asking for our protection from the Mordak Republic." Morrison sighed. Already the smaller species were asking Earth for help. The humans had become the police force of the galaxy, whether they wanted to or not. "Tell the Krellians we will investigate," he said, "and send a message to the Mordak Republic. Tell them we are watching." On Mars, Dr. Emma Stone continued to build ships. But these were not warships anymore. They were peacekeeping vessels. Ships designed to stop conflicts, not start them. Ships that could appear anywhere in the galaxy when innocent people needed help. "Ma'am," her assistant said, "the shipyard production is now focused on humanitarian vessels, medical ships, rescue ships, and exploration vessels." Dr. Stone smiled. "Good. We have enough weapons, now we need tools for building peace." President Carter prepared to address the galaxy one final time. This time her message would be broadcast to every world, every station, every ship in known space. Everyone would hear what she had to say. "People of the galaxy," she began. 3 days ago, the Zephyrian Empire attacked Earth. They believed we were weak. They believed we could not defend ourselves. They were wrong. On 1,000 worlds, people gathered around screens to listen. Even former enemies listened carefully. But this war was not about conquest, Carter continued. It was about justice. For too long, aggressive species have attacked peaceful ones. For too long, the strong have preyed upon the weak. For too long, the galaxy has lived in fear. Paused, looking directly into the camera. That ends today. Behind her, the flags of every human colony hung on the wall. Over 1,000 worlds, all united under one government. All committed to protecting peace. Humanity announces the formation of the Galactic Protectorate. We will defend any species that cannot defend itself. We will stop wars before they start. We will make sure that no one ever again has to fear being destroyed simply because they are weak. Admiral Crix watched this broadcast from his prison cell. He finally understood what the humans had really done. They had not conquered the galaxy. They had saved it from species like his own. But understand this, Carter said, her voice growing hard. This protection comes with a price. Any species that attacks peaceful worlds will face the full power of humanity. Any government that practices slavery will be removed from power. Any leader who commits genocide will answer to us. She stood up, and the camera pulled back to show the massive space station around her. Through the windows, human ships could be seen patrolling space, thousands of them, maybe millions. This is not a threat, Carter said. This is a promise. The galaxy now has guardians. We are watching, we are ready, and we will not allow the strong to prey upon the weak ever again. The broadcast ended. Across the galaxy, alien leaders sat in stunned silence. Some were angry, some were afraid, but most were relieved. For the first time in galactic history, someone with real power was promising to protect the innocent. Captain Steve Rogers led a patrol fleet through the Outer Rim territories. His ships moved through dimensional space, appearing at random locations, to show the human presence. Pirates and slavers who had operated freely for centuries now hid when they saw human ships approaching. "Sir," his officer said, "we have stopped 12 slaving operations this week. The slave trade is collapsing because no one wants to risk fighting us." Rogers nodded. "Good. That is exactly what we wanted." Dr. Helen Brooks continued her research into dimensional technology, but now she was sharing her discoveries with peaceful species. The humans were teaching others how to defend themselves instead of keeping all the power for themselves. "Ma'am," her assistant said, "the Andromedan Republic is asking for help developing dimensional shields. The Centauri Alliance wants to learn about temporal weapons." Dr. Brooks considered this carefully. "Give them defensive technology only. We will share the tools of protection, but not the tools of aggression." 1 month after the war, representatives from every major species gathered on Earth for the first Galactic Peace Conference. They came to a world they had thought was primitive, and found the most advanced civilization in the galaxy. Ambassador Claire Morgan, who had spent years as a spy in Zephyrian space, now served as Earth's diplomatic representative. She welcomed aliens who had once considered humans to be little more than animals. "Welcome to Earth," she said to the assembled delegates. "We have much to discuss." The conference lasted for weeks. New laws were written, new treaties were signed. A new galactic government was formed with Earth at its center. Not because humans wanted to rule, but because they were the only species strong enough to enforce peace. Admiral Grace Martin was appointed as the first Supreme Commander of Galactic Security. Her job was to make sure that the new laws were followed. She commanded a fleet that could be anywhere in the galaxy in minutes. "Ma'am," her aide said, "we have reports of a conflict starting between the Vegan Empire and the Sirius Republic." Martin sighed. "Send a fleet to both systems. Show them what happened to the Zephyrians. Remind them that we are watching. President." Carter stood in her office looking out at the stars. Earth was no longer a hidden world on the edge of civilization. It was the capital of the galaxy, the center of a new age of peace. "Ma'am," her secretary said, "Admiral Crix is asking to speak with you." Carter considered this. The former Zephyrian commander had been imprisoned but treated well. He had time to think about what his empire had done and what humanity was doing differently. "Send him in," she said. Admiral Crix entered the office. He looked older and tired, but not broken. Prison had given him time to understand the mistakes his people had made. "President Carter," he said, "I have a request." "What is it, Admiral?" "Let me help you," Crix said. "I know which species are planning to cause trouble. I know their military capabilities. I know their weaknesses. Let me help you stop them before they start new wars." Carter studied the alien carefully. "Why would you want to help us?"